Good evening, Garner, and welcome to the Town Council meeting of June 17th, 2025. We have a lot of important business, some presentations to make, and some good news to share. So it's a wonderful night in Garner. We'll start out and call the meeting to order. We'll also move to the roll call, and with the town clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Gupton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vance.
Here.
Councilmember Singleton.
Here.
Councilmember Behringer.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
And Councilmember Dellinger.
Here.
Thank you. And if anyone is here to speak during the public hearings later in the agenda, please make sure you have signed in with the town clerk. We may have several folks. Any questions, she's here to help, and our town attorney as well. We're going to move into the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation, and our Mayor Pro Tem Elmo Vance is going to introduce some special guests this evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this evening, we have the Brownies and Cadets from Troop 1302 and 910 who will lead us in the pledge this evening.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, and this evening to present the invocation will be Reverend Ben Acton, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Garner.
I invite all to join me in a spirit of reflection, meditation, and prayer. We gather tonight, O God, in humility and in a spirit of service. We gather aware of a presence and power greater than any one of us, which roots us in values of peace, love, dignity, humanity, and freedom for all people, regardless of gender, color, creed, or faith. So whatever our differences, help us all cling together to the unity and to the goodness we have known. Let us be guided this evening by a love divine, all loves excelling, to share this goodness with wisdom, clarity, and courage. And especially we invoke such gifts in these strange, messy, holy, sacred days. Days of remembrance and commendation for our fellow countrymen and women, the Charleston Nine, who 10 years ago this evening lost their lives at Mother Emanuel Church. May we continue to combat the virus of hate and prejudice and be inspired by the lives they live and the witness they offer. May we also be mindful of the eve of Juneteenth recognitions and celebrations, which serve both as a reminder of the work of freedom already accomplished and a call for work that is still ours to do. And may we look forward with glad anticipation of July 3rd and 4th, where we pause in freedom's light and then roll up our sleeves to get right back to forming a more perfect union. May the work done this evening, the tasks of administration and stewardship, of recognition and discussion of decisions and sharing good news, be in pursuit of these goals May all be done with jubilee as we put dreams into action for Garner, the place we call home. Amen.
Amen.
And thanks very much to our special guest. The pastor was great, and the brownies were even better. Thank you so much. hard act to follow, yes, sir. And this takes us to our petitions and comments session. I will start out by asking our town attorney if anyone has signed up to speak this evening.
Yes, one individual has signed up to speak.
Okay. In that case, we do need to read the disclaimer here, the introduction to the petitions and comments. And it says, this portion of the meeting is to receive comments from the public on items not included in this agenda regarding matters germane to town policies or business or subjects within the town council's real or apparent jurisdiction. Individuals or group spokespersons must sign up with the town clerk prior to the start of the meeting. The council is interested in hearing your concerns, but will not take action or deliberate on subject matter brought up during the petitions and comments segment. Topics requiring further investigation will be referred to the appropriate town officials or staff and may be scheduled for a future agenda. And we will recognize individuals who have signed up, and we ask each one to please limit their comments to 3 minutes. It looks like we have a lot of business to cover this evening. So with that, our speaker.
Mr. Joseph Cook.
Yes, Mr. Cook, if you would please come to the stand and give us your full name and address, sir.
Joseph Cook, 2524 Wynn Road in Garner.
Thank you.
All right, I'm back. I'm sorry. But I genuinely like all of you people. I mean, I was talking to all of you, several of you beforehand. But I have this concern. I'm concerned for my family. I'm concerned for other people on the street. So I just can't let it go until I get some answers. Last time I was here, I brought up that nobody would tell me where in the UDO it stated that Wynn Road had to be connected to the subdivision. And at this point, I still haven't reached out, or haven't been reached out to by anybody. So John Hodges has my contact information if anybody needs it. I've been told a lot of different things. I've been told that due to the length of the Wynn Road, it's non-conforming. However, nobody seems to realize the road has been there since the 1970s, and no one has cared that it's non-conforming until now, that they want to connect it to the subdivision. If it doesn't connect, to me, it seems like it'd be grandfathered in. And if you connect, you're creating a pedestrian safety problem. So also, when I look in the UDO under non-conforming, there are other ways to connect, to make it conforming, like having a turnaround or a T at the end, and no one has offered that solution. If you look at all the other non-conforming issues on the street, none of those are being addressed. And I just don't understand why the town is determined on making this connection when it'll obviously create more dangers than it solves. I've been told the requirement to make connection is in the UDO, but nobody yet can show me where, and I have asked for months. I found in the Garner forward plan verbiage about pedestrian safety, but I feel like that's just window dressing because actions speak louder than words. Parts of the UDO and Garner forward are cherry picked out to meet the desire to connect the road. If as much energy was spent trying to not connect the road, it wouldn't be connected. We were all told by the Pulte representative that the widening of White Oak Road and the light at Bryan Road would be completed January 2025 in a meeting we attended. It hasn't even started yet. That was the reason we couldn't get a continuance at the special use permit hearing, because in the interest of public safety, a vote was needed immediately to hurry up and get the project going. By the way, it'd be great if there was a light at Bryan Road right now, since the traffic circle project has begun. There's been a lot of progress on the land that's being developed at the Cambria subdivision, but not much progress on the Bryan and White Oak, making that any safer. The widening should have happened on Wynn Road, not White Oak Road. Wynn Road is adjacent to the subdivision. White Oak at Bryan is over 2 miles away. Residents of Wynn Road and Cambria were sold out because Garner could not afford to widen White Oak Road, so a development agreement was made. Garner continues to allow more development with no consideration for roads, schools, or infrastructure. We just want to keep our neighborhood the same as it has been for over 50 years. Garner can have the unchecked growth and poor planning. We just don't want it on our street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I certainly understand your commitment to your neighbors and your family's safety.
Mayor, can I ask that staff directly contact Mr. Cook and invite him to town hall and sit down and try to answer his questions? Can we get that done? Can we have invite him, y'all organize a time where he can come here and he can talk about that with staff?
Certainly, we can do that, and there have been previous meetings to talk about this issue as well. But certainly, if there are unanswered questions, we'll make sure that the answers are provided.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your concern for our citizens, absolutely. Now we move to one of the favorite parts of the program, a couple of presentations, both of them very dear to my heart. The first one, I get to read the proclamation. It's about the Juneteenth. Oh, gee, thank you. I got just so excited, I forgot about adopting the agenda. We have to officially adopt the agenda. Are you sure we can't do the presentations first?
I'm just reading the order, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank goodness Gray is here. He's level-headed, unexcitable like I am. We do have to adopt the agendas this evening. The council members have had an opportunity to look at the agenda, look at the items on here, many parts of it. And I'll ask the council members for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. By opposed, nay. Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Have we now adopted the agenda?
Just doing, if I don't know what the clerk or the attorney will correct me or you.
You're closer, thank goodness. Okay, now we move along to presentations. And the first one, I get to read the proclamation that's been issued about the Juneteenth, which falls on Thursday, but as we'll talk about a little bit more, our celebration will be Saturday. And I'm going to read this proclamation into the record, and then we're going to pass it along to the committee members who helped organize the big event on Saturday. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring enslaved people in Confederate-controlled territory free and paving the way for passage of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States. And whereas actual enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed by more than 2 years in some Confederate territory, including in the area that would become Garner. And whereas on June 19, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger read to the people of Galveston, Texas, General Order Number 3, which stated, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves." And whereas June 19th thus has acquired special meaning and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated as Freedom Day by many African Americans for 160 years. And whereas in Wake County there were more than 10,000 enslaved people, nearly 2/5 of the county's population, according to the 1860 census. And whereas these citizens, both before and after emancipation, contributed greatly to the prosperity and development of the area that became Garner. And whereas the creation of a Garner Juneteenth Committee was authorized by this town council to raise awareness about Juneteenth and about other information that places Juneteenth in historical context. And whereas the United States celebrates its freedom from tyranny on July 4th, 1776, but we acknowledge that not all Americans were free on that date. Therefore, Juneteenth should be celebrated alongside July 4th, Independence Day, and not in lieu of. Now, therefore, I, Buddy Gupton, Mayor of the town of Garner, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2025 in Garner as Juneteenth Freedom Day. And no proclamation is complete without a photo op. And Rick Mercer is going to collect up the committee members who helped put this together to please join me down here. Okay, and our next proclamation, or our next presenter, I should say, is dear to my heart as well. This has to do with the Garner Area Historical Society and their caboose restoration. This is an important part of Garner's history as well, a symbol of where we've been and where we're going. And the best thing about this presentation is I don't have to do it. Ms. Judy Bass, longtime member and one of the founders, please is here to share some information with us this evening.
Hello, everybody. As the mayor said, my name is Judy Bass, and I represent the Garner Area Historical Society. We have a couple of members that are here tonight with us. Carol Gupton, who is the 2025 Vice President, Connie Barton, who is the 2025 President, Karen Pageant, who's also one of the founding members and serves with me on, and two others, Joe Johnson and Tom Maynard. Y'all may remember Tom Maynard, on the Caboose Committee, the Caboose Restoration Committee. So I want to thank the mayor, town council, and town staff for allowing us the opportunity to present this information about a downtown icon, Garner's Vintage Caboose. In this presentation, you're going to hear a little bit about some history of the cabooses in general, and you're going to hear, see some examples of some similar cabooses, and then our proposal for restoration and a phased work plan. I promise this is a short presentation. And after the presentation, or even during the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, interrupt. Okay, a little history about the caboose. I know we all remember cabooses as kids. It's the only car on a freight train that had a kitchen and sleeping quarters and accommodations for the crew, as well as storage space and office facilities. In fact, at one time, it was a federal law that mandated freight trains that every freight train had a caboose in the rear for safety. The caboose, The caboose would typically have a red light at its rear signifying the end of the train. The early caboose typically carried a conductor, brakeman, and a flagman. I recently learned that there was no sleeping on the caboose. I kind of thought it was the train's sleeping quarters, but there was no sleeping allowed on the caboose. That's just a little tidbit that I learned. The caboose was phased out in the 80s and 90s, primarily due to advanced communication and monitoring systems. So our caboose is one of the X series, and you'll see a couple of more examples of the X series, and that's a bay window caboose. And this was designed in the 1940s through the 1960s to replace the use of a cupola. I don't know if I always say that, cupola, lookouts around the 1920s. Large windows were installed on a projection off the side of the train car, which helped improve the visibility for crew members to monitor signals for the engineer. Overall, the bay windows help improve safety, which is why the railroad started to prefer these models over the cupola. So I'm going to give you, the next three slides are examples of similar cabooses, and they have been reused and restored to reflect their history. Bellhaven is the first example, and the Bellhaven caboose has, it's like a focal point in this little area beside their depot on the top picture. If you can see to the left of the caboose, that they have a depot, and their depot was like ours was when it was stored back in the 80s. It is just the freight room. And interestingly enough, when I connected with him over their caboose restoration, I learned that they are now getting ready to add on to their depot as the 1987 group did with ours. So they'll add the ticket office and what did they add? Waiting rooms. and the gardens is their focal point, and they have this really nice vintage-looking clock that kind of opens. It's there at the entrance. So the next sample is Gibsonville, and the important thing about Gibsonville, if you'll notice the lower photo, is the interior, and their interior is very much like what the interior of ours should look like. So I added the picture below on the right-hand side is the water cooler that was inside the vintage caboose. And we actually have one of those that is stamped Southern Railway that was given to us by the late Tim Carroll, who was a historian at the New Hope Valley Railway Museum. He's given us a number of items that we can use in the caboose. So the last one is the town of Hendersonville, and it's on display outside the historic Southern Railway Depot in downtown Hendersonville. The Apple Valley Model Railroad Club operates a small museum inside, and it exhibits the typical features of a rebuilt caboose with bay windows. And the seats in this photo, the bottom photo, are identical to ours. So very few people have seen the inside of our caboose. These are existing photos from our caboose. The top left is the view from the Main Street side, and when you're looking over to the right is where they had their sink, toilet, and wood stove a little close by. The container on the top held water. The bottom right is seating with backs allowing them to sit up and see out the window depending on which way the train is moving. There's one on each side in addition to a conductor's table and desk. The bottom left photo is just like the one you saw in the Hendersonville photo, and that's what ours looks like. So the photo on the right looking from the depot towards Main Street, the cooler is on the left with the toolbox on the right. So we have a lot of the storage areas, cabinets, cooler, toolbox, that were originally in there. It's just missing some accessories. These photos were kind of fun when I was looking through and reminiscing and getting the photos for this and kind of reminiscing. This is back in, I think it was late 2019 or early 2020, and these photos were taken by Damien. I don't know if you remember that day. Anyway, it was just kind of fun doing that. It's Kay Whaley, Amy Griggs, Karen Pageant, and me on an early day treasure hunt as we were getting ready to embark on a very incredible journey. The photo on the left shows the Garner signs that you see standing, or the signs that are now on either side of the depot. So restoration objectives. A caboose restoration can leave a lasting impact on the community by serving as a tangible link to its history, fostering a sense of pride and connection to the past. Restored cabooses have become local landmarks or museums, attracting visitors and stimulating interest in heritage, which can boost tourism, provide new opportunities for local businesses. And we hope this finished product will actually become an extra large artifact to the museum. So the structure, our proposal is to restore the caboose to its original condition on the inside, adding a few items that are currently missing. A couple of items were donated to the society by the late Tim Carroll. Mary and Curtis Smalling planned to donate a coal-burning stove like what would have been used in the caboose originally. We're not planning to provide electricity for authentic lighting inside the caboose. We have lighting, but this is for the authentic lighting that's inside the caboose. However, we have an outlet where a small fan can be plugged in for airflow. We will look at finalizing that and trying to get it done as original at a later time. So we're also waiting on a walkway that would go by the display board, like come from the brick patio by the display board to the caboose where the steps are planned. And the steps that, you'll see the picture of the steps in a few minutes, and they will appear to blend with the caboose. As far as operations of the caboose, once the restoration is complete, we will add storyboards, throughout the caboose that describe items in the original train car, as well as items we may not be able to find. Storyboards will tell the history of the caboose and how technology replaced the need for a train car. We propose to sell the caboose as a part of the museum experience and provide a video or QR code for anyone who wants to go inside but either can't or does not want to go inside the caboose. The tours of the caboose will be during regular museum hours. And I use the word tours. There'll be enough description inside of what's inside that a visitor can get a good understanding of the caboose's story. For ADA options, no ramp is required. A wheelchair couldn't fit into the door if you were able to get one up there. We will have a video tour that explains in detail what is in the caboose, and this will be a QR code either at the caboose or the museum or both, so that someone will be able to see a tour from start to finish. So the work on the caboose is going to be done in phases. Once it's approved by the town, we will get started on phase 1. Phase 2 will follow. Well, phase 1 is the stairs and the exterior door. You'll see the stairs in just a few minutes. One of the doors is pretty bad shape and has to be remade. Phase 2 is all the interior and the upholstery of the 2 like reclining type seats, and then the desk and chair where the conductor sat. Phase 3 is any exterior cosmetic exterior body work, electrical work, and all the interior amenities. So this is what the caboose will look like. We have an ironworks company that has designed these steps, and the ladder is upon, I don't know if you can tell this, the ladder that is now remains on the caboose, and the steps will just go over it. Okay, so the next steps will be we hope the town officials consider approval of the renovations as we presented tonight, and then we begin phase 1. So I appreciate you listening, and does anybody have any questions?
Yes, let's see if we have comments or questions from the council members, and let's start with Mr. Matthews.
Being a history buff, this is exciting to see this happen. It's that whole block along with the depot, and who knows what will be coming down the road for maybe another building. But thank you for all the hard work and effort you guys are putting into it, and it's going to be something to be proud of.
I think so.
Mr. Singleton?
I agree. Looking forward to y'all being able to get started in phase 1. Get things rolling.
I think people will be excited to be able to walk in there. As I mentioned earlier, just a select few have been in there, but it's pretty scary right now.
We don't like scary. Ms. Behringer?
This is exciting. I think that I remember many, many years ago, my youngest son and I going in there when it was still on the railroad right away. If that's not correct, don't tell me, okay? But how many times has the caboose been moved, Judy? Do you remember?
The caboose has only been moved twice it was moved here. So it was moved here beside where the depot was on Garner Road, and then it was moved from that location to its current location.
And where was it moved from originally to the?
Southern Railway.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
I think it during that time, it was in the early 90s, I think, right, John? Anyway, during that time, I think you could request a caboose, and they were, they decommissioned them, and they were glad to get rid of them.
Wow.
And we were glad to have it.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Dellinger?
Yeah, very exciting, and if you can move the depot up Garner Road and back down Main Street, I'm sure you can restore a caboose. That was a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence to see that depot get moved down the road.
It was pretty awesome.
So like I say, if you can do that, you can probably get anything done.
Mr. Van?
Well, I concur with what has been said so far, Ms. Bash, and there's no doubt that Historical Society will make sure that it happens, and it will be done very well. There's no doubt about it. And what better place to have the caboose than right down historical downtown Garner?
Yeah.
Great.
It's been, been talking about it for years, and it's just a lot of planning and a lot of work and, getting the community's attention. And we feel like we're well on the way. I feel like I left one comment out. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. The budget for this is around $67,000, and so far we have raised almost half of that, very close to half of that. So we're very proud of that, which is enough to surely do phase 1 and well into phase 2.
Excellent. I would just like to add, this is a very important part of our town's history. It really grew up around the railroad station there. It was a community, but that gave it the focus. And as Ms. Behringer is proud to say, Garner was not planned with all the straight streets and squares. It was settled. It grew up around the railroad track. It's part of our history. My family has a long railroad history. My grandfather, great-grandfather, many of my uncles were railroad men back when that was a big-time job.
Yeah,
So
it was a big-time job.
It brings back the old days. So thank you very much for what you and your team are doing. And were you going to at least give us a little promotional idea of the next time we could learn more about this or make a donation? Is that this Friday night, maybe?
Now, this Friday night, I think that these two ladies will have a table set up. But I'm glad you said that, because I'm hoping that people can join us on Sunday. We have our second annual Red Hot Caboose Tea on Sunday the 22nd from 2 to 5. It's a unique event. It's like a unique twist on a tea social. I mean, we have all the goodies that you have at a tea. We have cold tea, hot tea, and other drinks. And then we have games available inside and out. And there's a annual cornhole competition. And then there are raffles for a beautiful wine basket and tea basket. They're big baskets with lots of good stuff in it. And then in addition to that, there are pop-up prizes that will be given out throughout the entire event. So, people will just walk up to you out of the blue and say, here, take this gift.
Thank you. That was an excellent infomercial.
And I also have these invitations, has QR code. You can sign up right with this invitation.
Don't let anyone leave here without getting one of those.
I'm getting ready to pass them around with your permission.
Permission granted.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. We're excited about this project, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, a very exciting project, a great organization. We're glad to be proud of it, glad to be part of it here at the town. So while you hand those out, I'll talk a little bit about the consent agenda that's next on our items here. These are issues of a more routine function that have been reviewed by staff and council. Typically, we pass them all as one motion, but I'll ask the council members, do you see any items out of these 8 that we need to break out for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none, then I will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Behringer. Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Which takes us over to public hearings, item I. And I can preface all of these with the same little introduction here. Tonight's public hearings are legislative hearings which do not require sworn testimony. However, all persons interested in speaking must sign up with the town attorney. Town staff will present a brief presentation followed by the applicant, and other persons who wish to comment on the item will be recognized to speak. We do request that groups of individuals with the same position to designate a representative to speak for the group. Okay. That being said, I'll ask our town attorney, do we have any individuals signed up for any of these items?
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, we'll get to them one at a time as we go through. Item number 1 under the public hearings was an Amazon drone delivery issued that required a special use permit, but they have withdrawn their motion at this time. They do not want to proceed at this time, but it may come back at a future date, so that's part of the record. Okay. Number 2 is a voluntary contiguous annexation petition by Greenbrier Park. And our presenter on this one will be our planning director, Mr. Jeff Triesenberg. If you could kind of give us the background of what's going on and what's being requested here, Mr. Triesenberg.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. members of the council, tonight you have one annexation public hearing for you. This is for the Greenbrier Park development, a very small part of it. The majority of the parcel is already in the current limits, but there are two smaller parcels, one on the corner and one just down Grovemont Road. This parcel right here is part of the development, as are these two parcels here, again, already in the corporate limits. So the annexation for these two parcels comprises 2.09 acres. We are adding in about 2.11 acres of adjacent right-of-way, just to kind of clean up this area and bring the whole Spring Drive, Grovemont Road, Timber Drive intersection into the corporate limits. The associated development was approved back on October 22 via conditional zoning. And so tonight we have for you a draft ordinance 2025-5338 if you are inclined to adopt. I did have an email from earlier, a couple week or so ago, that Mr. John Barker may be in attendance from Liberty Investment Partners. Happy to answer any questions if you have any of us as staff, and otherwise, again, considering adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, there's an opportunity for council to ask Mr. Triesenberg a question, or we can recognize the applicant and come back to Mr. Triesenberg as necessary. Does the applicant wish to make a statement tonight?
My understanding is the applicant is present but is willing to answer questions.
Okay, well, let's take this opportunity then for council members, starting with Mr. Vance, to see if we have questions for Mr. Triesenberg or the applicant.
I have no questions at this time.
Mr. Dellinger?
Just a question. These parcels, they were included as part of the original proposal. They just weren't in town limits, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you.
And Ms. Behringer?
No questions.
Mr. Singleton?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Matthews? Questions, comments? Okay. And were there any individuals signed up to speak on this item?
No, just Mr. Barker on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Well, that being the case, we'll close the public hearing at this point right here, and we will accept a motion. If there's a motion and a second, then we'll have some more discussion about this issue. Is there a motion and a second to approve this ordinance?
Move to adopt the.
Approve ordinance 2025-5338.
Mr. Singleton makes a
Second.
motion and a second from Mr. Vance. Okay. And let's have some more discussion. Are there any other questions or discussion we want to have about this particular ordinance? Okay, hearing none then, I will call for a voice vote on this. All in favor of approving and adopting ordinance 2025-5338, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much for your help there, Mr. Triesenberg. And that brings us to item number 3 on the public hearings, which is a Tier 2 conditional rezoning of Creech Road homes. Our presenter from our planning staff is our Assistant Planning Director, Ms. Erin Joseph. Bring us up to speed, Ms. Joseph.
All right, I will do. Thank you. All right, good evening, council members, mayor, members of the public. I will present rezoning case CZMP 24006, also known as Creech Road Homes. So the applicant, Beth Blackman of Timmons Group, has submitted the request to rezone 42.4 acres from rural agricultural to residential for conditional for the development of 37 single-family detached homes. This request is a Tier 2, so it does include a site-specific master plan. The site is located within our ETJ and is located on the east side of Creech Road between Jewel Street and Plaza Drive. Again, the current zoning is rural agricultural. It's typically found in areas outside of the town's corporate limit where public water and sewer Services are not readily available. Intended uses are typically rural, residential, larger lots, agricultural, and silvicultural. The current uses of the site are single-family detached and vacant. And Creech Road is a major collector road. It serves as a vital connection between residential neighborhoods, schools, and commercial areas. You'll see to the northwest of the site that neighborhood activity center. And then to the southeast at Jones Sausage Road, you have the Regional Employment Activity Center. The most recent NC-DOT traffic counts for for Creech Road is 5,598, and this data was collected in 2023, and it's showing a slow upward trajectory from 4,500 trips per day since 2015. And the proposal includes residential 4. The applicant has narrowed the uses to 1 single-family detached out of a potential 14, with a maximum count of 37 dwelling units, and the average lot size for the development is 12,000 square feet. You have the list of conditions, proffered conditions within your agenda packet, but the applicant is proffering conditions that are addresses site design, architectural standards, open space, recreation within the development. Site design includes a maximum density of 1 dwelling unit per acre. There are pedestrian connectivity, as well as enhanced landscaping. With architectural standards, there's a variety in front elevations, specific building materials, size of porches, and features for the windows and garages. They also included a number of the units to have first floor primary bedrooms. Within the open space and recreation, you have an open space that will include a playground. There are greenway access, public greenway access. There will be 2 10-foot trail connections. And within the active open space, at least 1 amenity will include a dog park, picnic tables, outdoor games, or pickleball courts. And this is a layout, the master plan that has been provided. I'll just point your attention to some of the key features. There are 2 access points. You have one here from Creech Road, off of Creech Road, and then one at the intersection of Creech Road and Jewel Street. The Creech Road access point, as well as the Creech Road onto Jewel Street intersection, both will have dedicated southbound left turn lanes. Here you have the town's public greenway that traverses just the north of the development, and there will be a connection point, a private trail connection into the public greenway, as well as a trail connection here and a private trail connection here. Again, this is the layout with the homes. Again, their average lot size is 12,000 square feet. You do have active open space, one here, and then a recreational open space, as well as a proposed dog park open space here. Again, the site encompasses 40.4 acres, 37 single-family detached, 4.2 acres of open space is required. 25% must be active open space, so you have a combination of conservation and recreation space. There are riparian buffers, wetlands, and conservation buffer areas. And recreation includes qualifying open areas, amenities, and pedestrian trails. The site is not within a watershed protection area. However, it is subject to water quality nitrogen and quantity requirements. The development proposes 2 stormwater control measures, and water will connect from existing 12-inch line from Creech Road, and also there's an existing 18-inch sewer line that the site will connect to. A traffic impact analysis was not required for this proposal as it did not meet the thresholds set by NC.DOT or the town of Garner. But as I stated before, it will have 2 access points, a dedicated southbound left turn lane from Creech Road, as well as at Creech Road and Jewel Street. And this access point from Creech Road will be restricted to a right turn only when exiting. There are FEMA designated floodplains in the green highlighted area on the screen to the northern boundary of the project. There are also conservation buffers that extend southward through the east central portion of the property, and that's really what you see in that purplish dark blue color. The applicant conducted 2 neighborhood meetings. The first was held in December of 2024, and the second meeting was held this year in April. There were 4 attendees at the first meeting and 2 at the second meeting this year, and you do have that meeting report in your agenda packet. When reviewing with the comprehensive land use plan, the site is not within an activity center. It is located within the neighborhood's character typology, and on the development intensity map, it is designated as a level 2 area to strengthen. The staff reviewed this proposal with our comprehensive plan for consistency. There were 14 growth framework criteria that were evaluated. 13 were strongly consistent, and 1 was given a modest non-support, and that was the transportation rating due to the lack of pedestrian transit and automobile connectivity on Creech Road. And we'll note that that is an existing condition. That's why it did not receive the strongest non-support rating. With the land use and community character consistency, there were 26 criteria that were evaluated and determined to be applicable or meaningfully to address. Highlight from that evaluation determined that expanding housing options to accommodate a broader range of residents should be considered, including greater variety in housing types, price points, and sizes. There was 1 strong non-support due to the lack of commitment to a green street solution. And so overall, always with some continued fine-tuning in response to this evaluation tool, additional public input stemming from the public hearing and feedback from tonight, staff will likely be able to support a stronger overall finding of consistency. And your full consistency review is attached to the staff report as well. So the next steps for this process would be to finish conducting and close the public hearing, refer the case to the Planning Commission for findings of plan consistency and recommendation to approve or deny, and then back to Town Council for findings of reasonableness and a decision to approve or deny the request. The applicant is here this evening and can answer any questions you may have, and staff is also on standby to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Well, thank you for an excellent presentation, very informative. Does the applicant wish to make a statement or just be available?
Yes, we'd like to make a statement. I'm Isabel Maddox, Nichols and Crampton, 3700 Glenwood, Raleigh 27612. Happy to be here tonight. I want to introduce my team. We got a big team that came down from New York, and I think it's impressive they're here. Steve Della Sala, Antonio Cardellano, Giuseppe Pirano, and Caroline O'Sullivan, our developers, and then Beth Blackman, our engineer, who's done the really heavy lifting on this project. As Aaron said, the applicant is CR 1306 and 0 LLC. 42 acres. Originally, we came in, and you may remember about a year ago, proposing over 300 apartments for this site. We got major pushback from both you guys at the council as well as neighborhood. And so, to our client's credit, they did a major pivot and came back with, instead of a multifamily development, this single-family development, thinking would fit into the neighborhood better. So we're now requesting from R8 to R4 rather than a multifamily zoning. Proposing 37 single-family homes with 2-car garages, carriage doors, lots of architectural features and details, building materials, lots of articulation, patios, screen porches. I think the homes are going to be really nice in this development. There's significant open space, 4.2 acres required, 15 provided. Lots of active open space with pickleball, dog park, playground, etc. Greenway connections. And we feel like the case is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan. I'm sure we'll discuss that more with the Planning Commission and when we come back to you. We think overall this is definitely reasonable in the public interest, and we look forward to you coming back to you for approval. I would like to call on Beth Blackman to go through details about the site plan. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Beth Blackman with Timmons Group, 5410 Trinity Road, Suite 102, Raleigh. Happy to be here in front of you. Ms. Joseph covered pretty much everything, but I did want to point out a few things. We do have our 2 public street connections, one out directly to Creech Road and then one via Jewel Street. Jewel Street is currently gravel, dirt, NCDOT street, so it will be improved. Curb and gutter and sidewalk on our side, but it would have asphalt, obviously, for the entire street. She covered the entrances because of site distance, the entrance through the middle of the site. Anyone exiting will not be able to turn left. You can turn left into the site, but you cannot turn left out of the site. So everybody from that entrance would need to turn right and go north to Raleigh. But the Jewel Street connection would be a full movement, so everybody can turn left or right from that one. Excuse me. That was why it was important to work with the neighbor on the corner there so that we could have better access for the property. Utilities are existing. There's actually an existing sewer easement across the back of the property that will end up with sewer in it that would then future go upstream towards East Garner Road. Water is out front, so no issues there. Open space will obviously provide everything that is required. The Greenway, we have a public connection to it since right now this would be a dead end sort of section of Greenway, so we want to make sure we have public access for maintenance, and then we have a loop for our internal right with the private connection as well. And lots of architectural conditions, including the enhanced buffer along Creech Road right there at the intersection with Jewel Street, where the those lots would back up to Jewel Street. So we want to make sure that they're protected. There is going to be a grade difference from Jewel Street to the project. So I don't think it's going to be like you're not going to be looking directly into people's backyards. But we want to definitely make sure we screen that area as well. So let me know, or any of the team, if you have any other questions for us.
Thank you very much. While you're there, and we have Ms. Joseph still available, let's see what questions or comments council members might want to have at this point before we go any further. Mr. Vance?
Yes, in reference to the public outreach piece, I understand that last time there was significant public pushback on this. When you went back again to the public, how was the response?
They were very much on board with this, felt like this fit in with their existing single-family homes. Obviously, it's a little different, and they are going to have a road and stuff like that. But it was much more positive. And I think that's why we didn't have a huge turnout at the first meeting, but we had even less. I had somebody reach out and was like, did you change anything from the first meeting? And I was like, no. And they're like, okay, we're good. You know, don't have to come back. So.
Okay, next question in reference to the first presentation when you came before us the first time. How many units you said you had?
It was like 320-ish, something like that.
How many you have now?
37.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Dellinger.
Just a comment and a question. One comment, this is an appropriate use of R4 zoning, which is always good to see. The question is, there was a condition minimum of 1,500 square feet. What sort of expected to be the range of square footage for the housing types?
The reason that we left it at the lower end there would be to ensure that if there was a ranch, right, or just a mostly one floor, that you weren't over promising on that. But I would expect it would be very typical of everything you're seeing in all the neighborhoods with these are slightly larger lots. So I really expect the range to be a little higher. But the minimum was more just if we did do some for, mostly ranch living. Do you have anything else?
I think as we...
Yeah, 1,800 to 2,500 is probably pretty typical.
I think we might want to just consider bumping the minimum up just a little bit, and if there's a need in the future to come back with a modification to go down, just to make sure we're hitting a certain price point on the final product. But that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Erringer.
I'd just like to say this is a much better looking plan than we saw the first time, and we appreciate your work on it.
Mr. Singleton.
Yes, Ms. Blackman, a couple of questions. I think when we met earlier this year, these lots were averaging between 70 and 75 feet wide and 140 and 150 foot deep. That's correct.
That is correct. The goal is to get them about 1/4 of an acre. They're not all exactly the same size, obviously. There are a few that might be the minimum of 65, but they were like deeper. But most are like 70, 75 feet wide.
And as I told you then, and will tell you now, appreciate that because that's the size of lots over here, Forest Hills and Heather Hills and Edgebrook and Tiffany Wood. So that's great. The direct access to Creech Road, not Jewel Street, but the other one, that will be a curb and gutter road with sidewalks on one side or both or two sides?
And so that'll be both sides. It'll be a Town of Garner Street. So it'll meet Town of Garner standards. It's the 50-foot right-of-way section with the 29-foot back-to-back sidewalk on both sides. I think the right-of-way might be a touch wider than normal, but it'll all fit in there. So.
Okay. And I'll also mention what's been mentioned before, that reducing from 320 plus or minus apartments to 37 single-family homes. I just wish all developers would be so cooperative in listening and changing, and the significant reduction in traffic. That was one of our big concerns, was
correct.
All the traffic from 320 or so apartments, multifamily, to 37 single-family homes. So that's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews.
Big turnaround on the project. It looks really nice, and I know you've worked your way through this. You've listened, and we've listened, and both sides had good communication, and I think the end result's going to be a nice product. It's going to fit very nicely in over there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just add, to reinforce the same thing that's already been said. The first time we saw this, it was over 300 apartments and some townhouses, and nobody that we talked to liked it at all. But the developers really listened, and when they left, I thought they were just going to walk away, but they came back with this, which was 10 times better, 1/10 of the units. So thank you for listening and trying to understand what the neighborhood wants over there. Okay. That being said, before you sit down, let me ask one more question of our town attorney. Has any individual signed up to speak on this?
No members of the public have signed up tonight.
Okay. That being done, then, if there's no other questions from council, or we will close the public hearing. And keep in mind that the question before us this evening is whether to refer this to the Planning Commission for their review and their recommendations regarding plan consistency. So we're closing the public hearing now. There's no other people signed up to speak, but we will see if a council member wants to make a motion and a second that we could have some more discussion related to this. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the case be referred to the Planning Commission for their review.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Singleton and motion by Mr. Matthews over there. At this point, are there any other discussion or question or any other comments council would like to make related to this one?
I would like to add that in positive support to the developer listening to the concerns of the council and also of the citizens and making the adjustments accordingly. That's appreciated.
Excellent. Any other observations, questions?
Yeah, I would just concur with that and also just have some conversation between now and Planning Commission about upping the minimum size just a little bit. Again, got to keep that tax base up. So, but give you the flexibility you need to do the product you need to do. So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Behringer?
Hey, I'd just like to echo our happiness with what we see now. Creech Road is a main corridor into Raleigh. It's not the highest traveled one, but it is a main corridor, and we still need more attention to how that is developed, and we appreciate what you've done.
Mr. Singleton?
I'm just wondering if Ms. Blackman is waiting for me to ask her a question about open space like I usually ask her at every one of these, but no, this and it's done fine, and it's greatly appreciated.
Well,
I'm good.
Mr. Matthews? Well, excellent, excellent. Well, there's been a motion and a second to refer this to the Planning Commission. I'm going to go for a voice vote here and ask that all council members who are in favor of referring this to the Planning Commission for further consideration, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. On to the Planning Commission. Thank you for your patience and working through a very detailed review, lots of input from staff. Again, thanks for everything the staff has done to help bring you on board with this. So that carries. Your work here is done for this week. You have plenty more to go. Thank you again. Thank you, Ms. Maddox. Okay. So that moves us along to new and old business. And item J on our agenda, the number one item here is a Tier 2 conditional rezoning request involving Wrennmoor Pines. And again, our presenter is the Assistant Planning Director, Ms. Erin Joseph.
Alrighty, thank you. I will present Wrennmoor Pines CZMP 24004. This case is back before you for decision this evening. So I'll briefly go through the presentation since you've seen it before. So the applicant, Worth Mills, has submitted the petition on behalf of the property owners requesting to rezone 25.68 acres from residential 2 to residential 8 conditional for the development of 75 single-family detached units and 12 single-family attached units or townhomes. The site is within the ETJ and is generally located on the northeast corner of New Bethel Church Road and Clifford Road. The R2 zoning district intends for low-density, single-family homes. It encourages high-quality development and open space protection. Currently, the site is vacant and on one parcel, and then the second parcel, it does have a single-family detached home existing. The site is located within the Lower Swift Creek Conservation Overlay District. That essentially limits the development of residential homes for single-family homes to no more than 30%, and then multifamily, which includes townhomes, to no more than 50% impervious surface area. Within the area, there is a mix of R2, R4, and R8 surrounding the site. And there is an undergoing areas undergoing increased development. There are several residential projects under construction or in review with the town currently. The applicant has narrowed the possible uses to 2 out of 18, including single-family detached and townhomes within a 3 to 4 units per structure. And so a total of 87 dwelling units. You have front-loaded, rear-loaded, as well as front-loaded townhomes. So there are 12 front-loaded townhomes. You have 16 60-wide front-loaded lots, 36 homes that are on 45 wide front-loaded lots, and then 23 on 45 with the rear-loaded homes. The applicant has proffered conditions that address site design, architectural standards, and open space and recreation. Again, they've proffered maximum density, pedestrian connectivity. They're offering homes that front on open space, and also a berm that fronts Clifford Road and New Bethel Church Road. Pertaining to our architectural standards, there's a variety in front elevations for the detached homes and the townhomes. They are utilizing specific building materials, roofing, size of the porches have been determined, minimum size, windows, and garage features as well, and also a varied color palette for the detached homes and the townhomes. There are 3 active open space areas that have been designated. The active open space 1 has a common green, which includes a pollinator garden, seating, a conversation pit, and a play lawn. And then within active open space 2 and 3, they will include a playground and a fitness park. And the passive open space areas include preservation of natural areas. So since the public hearing, the applicant has proffered 3 additional conditions. Condition 24 and 25 are attempting to address erosion control, stream erosion, and environmental concerns. So they are proposing to install double silt fencing along the disturbance area adjacent to the Neuse River riparian buffer. And then they, prior to the first issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the development will plant new shade trees within Zone 2 of the Neuse River riparian buffer. And this will be subject to state and town of Garner regulations. And then condition 26 addresses the White Oak Bryan Road corridor impact area, and the applicant is proffering a payment of $71,315.15 to address this particular area. And the master plan here on the screen gives you an idea of the layout. You have the different home product types within the site, the 60-foot front loaded, the 45 front loaded, 45 width and lot front loaded, and then the rear loaded. And then you have the townhomes here. 1 storm water control measure, and then you have open active space 1, where 6 of the rear loaded lots will front onto that open space area. And then you have active open space 2 and active open space 3, which will have the fitness part. The site is not within an activity center. It is within the neighborhood's character typology within the Garner Forward Plan, and on the development intensity map, it is designated as a level 2 area to strengthen. And staff's overall review has moved in the right direction, considering the adjustments made to this tool. Staff can support an overall finding of consistency, and you do have that consistency review attached to your staff report. The Planning Commission reviewed the case and had several questions during the meeting. Several were addressed to stormwater and open space. There were questions about the control measures and the open space design, access to the stormwater pond, and the buffered area near Harper's Landing. There were questions related to transportation and traffic. There was a question about the Garner Transportation Plan, the road cross sections, the TIA updates, traffic signal installation, and then what would be the impacts of the new 540 on traffic patterns within the area. There were concerns about the townhome layout, guest parking, price points, and the appreciation for the first floor master bedroom inclusion, and there was a procedural question about annexation. There were comments on the fitness part, the pedestrian connections. Appreciation was shown for the graphics in the applicant's presentation, and for the increase in single-family homes. But there was a question about the absence of a dog park. Ultimately, the Planning Commission adopted the consistency statement that you see on the screen, and there was a motion to recommend approval, and it passed unanimously. This evening, the questions of reasonableness are to be considered. There are 6 criteria of reasonableness for your consideration for this proposal. And so you have draft motions prepared in your agenda packet on page 162 to find consistent and reasonable, to approve, or to find consistent and unreasonable and deny. The applicant is here this evening and has prepared a presentation. Again, I'm here on standby along with staff to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. Yes, we'll be glad, Mr. Joseph, we'll be glad to see the presentation from the applicant.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Worth Mills with Longleaf Law Partners, 4509 Creedmoor Road, Suite 302 in Raleigh, 27612. Here on behalf of the property owners, as well as D.R. Horton, who is the rezoning applicant, and Oakley and Madison Lee are here on behalf of D.R. Ben Williams, our lead engineer with Priest Craven and Associates, is here, and Colin Kenton, a traffic engineer with McAdams, is here as well. I'll keep my comments very short, considering you've heard this already, and Aaron did a great job of outlining our request. So, the master plan that you see here remains the same as it was when this case was before you at the April 15th public hearing. But I do want to remind you that it has been significantly shaped throughout the rezoning process based on the conversations that we've had with neighbors, with the planning department, and with you all throughout this rezoning process. And we appreciate all of that input to get us at this point today. As Aaron mentioned, we are looking to provide 87 homes, which includes a mix of townhomes, single-story cottages, and then varying size single-family detached homes. The goal is to be able to meet the housing needs of a larger array of Garner residents within a single development. And I think I give a lot of credit to DR and to Mr. Williams as they've continued to refine this design throughout the process. Aaron did mention that we've committed to 3 new zoning conditions since that April 15th meeting. We appreciate her input as well as the city attorney's input on crafting those conditions and strengthening our application's consistency with the relevant land use policies. I did want to share some renderings that were not available at the April 15th public hearing, and I'll go through them briefly, but the rendering shown here is of the alley that serves all of the single-story cottages that are located around that active open space 1. This slide here shows a rendering of the workout area in active open space 3. That's the area along Clifford Road, sort of in the kind of northeast corner of the site. This rendering shows the central open space of active open space 1 and the walkway that leads to the conversation pit. There was a question at Planning Commission about the location of that conversation pit as it relates to the 6 cottages that front on the active open space. I do want to make note that the conversation pit is sufficiently far away enough from those homes that people can enjoy that conversation pit without intruding on the peace and enjoyment of the folks who would live in those cottages that front active open space 1. And this rendering here shows the children's playground and covered space for active open space 2. I think Erin had this in her presentation as well, but we've included some decorative bicycle racks that you can see there towards the right-hand side of the screen. So a lot of thought has gone into the programming of each of these active open space areas. And so just to summarize, and then we're available if you have any questions, the proposed R8 conditional zoning would facilitate an 87-home subdivision that addresses multiple housing needs throughout the community. It provides for that housing variety within the single subdivision and development itself. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval, and we think that this request is reasonable and in the public interest. We appreciate your input throughout the process. Our entire team is here if you have any questions. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Very informative. And let's poll the council members, see what questions or comments we might have at this point. But let's start with Mr. Matthews this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have had the opportunity to be part of the preliminary meetings and conversation we've had back and forth with council and staff, and everything we have brought forth, you guys have changed. I think you got a unique property here. There'll be something for everybody there, for the young people can move in, and the parents later on can move into a smaller area or step up in sizes. So it's a unique property, and other than that, I don't have any questions on it.
Mr. Singleton.
Well, I do appreciate that you have gone from 130 units down to 87. The previous project we just approved was 40 acres and 37 units, and this is 25 acres and would look good with 22 units on it with large lots. It'd be a much better mix and blend. You talk about a different opportunity for people to live down there, because everything else is ram and cram type projects, and a 25 or 23 units on 25 acres would be something different and would much better serve the community in the long run, especially from the standpoint of cost of services. But anyway, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Behringer.
Yeah, a couple of questions. The residential units, the single family units, 75, are they all one story, or is some of them 2-story?
I'll go back to the slide and I can.
Okay.
So the pale yellow single-family homes in the center of the site, those are the 1-story cottages. The purplish shaded lots are the largest lot and the largest housing product. I believe those are all at least 2 stories. And I think, I may have Ms. Oakley come and correct me, but I think all of the other 45-foot wide single-family lots are also 2 stories. So we have tried to create a mix of 1 and 2 stories. I do know that at least 75% of the lots and the homes that DR has shown include a first floor master, which was a big issue when we met with individual council members early on, and that's something that we wanted to incorporate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dellinger.
Yeah, the comment is sort of hard not to compare the project we just looked at that was smaller and sort of had uniform praise from the council, was R4 zoning, and also they had, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure, proffered a minimum heated square footage, which is good. And I'm kind of wondering, especially since you went from a reduction in total number of townhomes to then really small cottage homes that wouldn't probably appraise for more than a townhome, to Mr. Singleton's point around having slightly larger, again, it's a tax-based question. It's a revenue generation question. And the smaller units, particularly that part of Garner, aren't going to generate enough revenue. So my question is, would you be willing to proffer a minimum square footage, heated square footage? Is there one in there that I've missed?
So we have not included a minimum square footage of the homes in the conditions to date. I can go through, I think I've got some additional materials that may help here. I'll start with the townhomes and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Oakley. The townhomes that are shown on the screen here are 2,400 square feet. That would be the biggest townhome unit that exists in Garner. It would function more like a single-family home, given the size, than it would maybe your like 16-foot or 20-foot wide townhome that so many developers like to build. In terms of, a minimum square footage, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem. We would just need to try to break it up based on housing types. I may have Ms. Oakley come up and speak a little bit more to the other housing types, just to give you a sense of the size of those homes.
I seem to recall it was between 15 to 18 for the cottage homes.
Sure. Let me start. My name is Ann Oakley. I work for D.R. Horton, and my our address is 2000 Ariel Center Parkway, and I don't have to say it very often, in Raleigh, North Carolina. So just to start, and which button works this? Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so these are 26-foot wide townhomes. You can see them today for sale in Marina Gateway. They've done very well. They attract a lot of families. They do live like a single family home. They have 4 bedrooms. Well, at least the interior units will have master down, and then the other units do not, but they have a mixture of up and down masters. 2-car garages really do live like a single family home, but allow some folks who can't afford a detached product to get into a home that fits their family. And there's only 12 of those on site. These are the single family 45-foot wide lots that you see, the darker yellow around the outside. They all have 2-car garages. Many of them have master bedroom downs. I would say the minimum square footage on this is that top left corner that you see. That's like a story and a half, and that's about 1,700 square feet. And that's pretty generous for a 1-story home. So going across that, do we have any more? Here we go. So these are the largest homes on site. They're the lavender colored lots. They're going to be over 3,000 square feet, between 4 and 5 bedrooms, 2-car garage, Cura-style adornments, a lot of architectural elements and features that are on that higher end in that upper level. And this is a way of showing a showcase of variety in this community. It can be multi-generational. To Mr. Matthews' point, you can have a starter home family in here, as well as a retiree, as well as a move-up. These are our cottages. You can see them today in Haywood Glen and Nightdale. They're about 2,000 square feet. Some of them have 4 bedrooms, some have 3. They are rear load. Although they seem small in the front, they are very deep. This product is about 80 feet deep. And one of the key features that most folks like about these cottages is when you pull into your garage, you're accessing your kitchen. You don't have to carry your groceries very far. Do we have any product questions for me? Those are the 4 product types.
And was the breakdown on the 1,700 was what percentage of?
So going back
approximately?
to,
Sorry.
but that's okay. Let's go back to that housing type. Excuse me. There we go. Somewhere between 1,700 and 2,400 these houses will be. It'll just depend on if they're 1-story or 2-story. And this was an effort to not overlap, right? So we don't want to overlap the square footage. So you're keeping that 3,000 square foot and over. You have this middle-sized product. You have that 1-story cottage product that is really geared toward folks that need that 1-story living. And then the townhomes would be the lowest price product on the site, and that's still coming in the 400s.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions for me while I'm standing here?
While you're there, let's ask Mr. Vance.
Yes, just going back to what really reinforcing what's already been said. I remember from the early conversations that when we first saw a site plan for this, it was significantly more townhomes in there, and
Yes, sir.
that was taken into consideration, and the adjustment was made to bring in a variety of homes, a front end, rear end, and plus a few townhomes, knowing that we have a significant number within the area, and the perception of that being a concern of the council. So with the variety of homes you placed in here, it appears that you've taken into a lot of thought. I'm not only saying it for you, I'm also saying it for the listening audience who may want to present something to us in the future relative to how I'm thinking relative to development process and listening to the council and also to the citizens as to what would be a good fit in this area. And also you took into consideration the open space and brought a plan back for that as well. Question in reference to the three conditions that were proffered after the public hearing. Can you explain how that came about, the three additional conditions?
Worth may be better to speak to that since he crafted that language.
Yes, so after the public hearing, and I can't remember if we had alluded to some of these at the public hearing or not. I think we did with regard to the White Oak Bryan Road corridor contribution, which we continue to work with Aaron Joseph and Terry Jones on that language. The additional conditions came about after the public hearing when we approached Ms. Joseph to say, how can we increase our consistency with the land use plan? And some of the items that she brought up dealt with enhanced protections to the riparian buffer that was on site. And what we wanted to do was try to create a framework to protect that buffer both during construction as well as after construction. So that relates to the double silt fencing that would be installed along the limits of disturbance of the Neuse River riparian buffer, which is down there at the bottom of the slide. And then after construction, going and replanting new shade trees within portions of Zone 2 of that Neuse River riparian buffer, which will hopefully play a small role in capturing and filtrating some of that runoff either before or after it reaches the stormwater pond. So those were the driver for that was us saying, how can we come back to town council with an even better application? The corridor contribution was done, well, it had been, I think it was referenced at the public hearing, and then it was a matter of just coming up with the language that everyone could agree with on that condition. But those are the three that we've added since April 15th.
Okay. And this may be a question you can or cannot answer, maybe the town staff, relative to the, there was a high level capacity analysis that was done for the area to determine, okay, once we reach a point where we would be relative to build out for that area. Are we able to speak to that tonight, or is it something that we need to talk about later as to how this will impact the analysis?
This development was factored into that. Again, the scope of that analysis was limited, though, to getting people from this area out to 50 or out to White Oak. But this development was factored in.
Okay, but I guess I'm speaking to the point that we're using it as a measure of future developments in the area. This is off topic, but it's something I'll talk to you offline about. Okay, I'll finish.
Thank you. Excellent questions, excellent comments. Let's make another round, starting back with Mr. Matthews, see if there are further thoughts, further questions. Mr. Singleton?
No, sir.
Ms. Behringer? Mr. Dellinger?
No other questions.
Mr. Vance?
No question.
Okay, well, great discussion, a great project. It's been through some changes. No one single project solves every issue, but there's been a real effort here, I believe, to have a variety of housing, not just the very high end with the biggest homes, not just the smallest townhouses, not just the cottages, but a place where a diversity of people could live. And thank you for being sensitive to the need for some single or main floor living accommodations here. It's not just us old people, there's some other people that have some mobility issues too. So thank you for looking at those. Even the details, should it be a dog park or an activities? I went back and forth. You had input from staff, neighbors, colleagues, and it appeared that it would probably get more use as an active area than as a dog park. And a lot of the lots are big enough you might could walk your dog in your own yard. Those kinds of things. So a lot of decisions, very few perfect solutions, but in my opinion, a good stab at doing something that makes sense. So that being said, the question before the council this evening is whether to approve ordinance 2025-5336 that would complete the cycle after the planning commission has made its statement of reasonableness on this project. So that being said, is there a motion to approve that ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the town council accept the planning commission's written statement regarding consistency of the zoning amendment request with adopted land use plans detailed in section 3 of the staff report as their own. And I further move that the town council adopt ordinance 2025-5339 approving rezoning CZ MP 24004 as the request is reasonable in the public interest because the subject property would be more suitable but uses permitted by the proposed district versus current districts.
There's a second by Ms. Behringer. So we have a motion and a second there. Is there any other discussion council members would like to have after the motion and the second's been made?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just a comment related to sort of the implications of this as a precedent-setting development for future development. This is the case study in the abuse of the R8 district. And I just want the public to know and the record to reflect that our UDO says this specifically about a resident R8 district. It's a dense residential district with urban character and potentially a mix of low-impact, non-residential and mixed-use structures at select locations. House-scale multifamily units are also appropriate and add to the diversity of the neighborhood. These neighborhoods are very walkable and often border or are within a short distance of commercial or mixed-use districts where shopping, retail, and services exist. R8 district may also provide a transition from more commercially active districts to lower density single-family districts. And I mention it again because this is at least 1.5 miles from any commercial whatsoever, and they could have achieved the same general layout, only losing a few units by going with an R4 zoning. The R8 is being used to get the very small lot lines that make for the driveways that are like this. It's a loophole that we really need to fix. Creech Road was R4, beautiful development. They can have the same product mix of cottages, townhomes, large lots, smaller lots with an R4 and a very comparable density. So I'll be voting against it because I think it sets the wrong message for that zoning district in sitting in a sea of other residential. So that's my only comment.
Very, very thoughtful insight and input on that. Yeah, we can never forget that these folks have to go to grocery stores, barber shops, and offices along the way, and we need to keep that in mind as we look at each project and what's their contribution to that. Were there other comments or questions after the motion's been made and seconded? Okay, I think I'll ask for a roll call vote on this one. The motion was to approve ordinance 2025-5339. The motion was made by Mr. Matthews. I'll call on you first to cast your vote, sir.
Aye.
Mr. Singleton?
No.
Ms. Behringer?
Aye.
Mr. Dellinger?
No.
Mr. Vance?
Aye.
Okay, that sounds like 3 in favor and 2 opposed. That motion passes. This ordinance will be approved. Thanks for the hard work that our staff has done, particularly, not to mention the developer and their team, and the great thought that's been put into it by our council as well. It's a long process, no perfect solutions. We'll keep moving ahead, trying to do the best that we can. That brings us to item number 2 on the new and old business, which is the budget adoption. I've had a request or two up here to perhaps go ahead and take our 10-minute recess here before we launch into this very, very serious and very, very important issue. But so that being said, let's take a 10-minute recess, be back in here by virtually 1:45, if you would. Thank you. And we're back from recess. Everybody came back from the playground. We are come back refreshed to focus on a very important and very complex issue, how we spend our taxpayers' money, the budget. We've been working on this for months. Some of our staff have been working on it for 12 months, ever since this time last year. That far ahead. That's how much work goes into it. Thanks for your efforts there. That being said, I'm going to turn this over to our presenter this evening, our budget director, Ms. Sarah Warren.
Yep, so tonight we are looking to adopt the FY26 budget. We do want to remind you of what is included. So the total recommended budget is $87.4 million. Just as a reminder, that's an increase of just about $9.9 million over the FY25 amended budget. It maintains the FY25 tax rate of 52 cents. And it includes 43.5 cents that goes towards town operations and 8.5 cents for the debt service. Again, this was a priority-based budget focusing on the Garner Fire Rescue consolidation with the town, as well as starting to support the operations associated with the opening of Jurgen Park in the fall of 2026.
Good evening. We thought this would be a good opportunity as well to remind council of some information we shared previously and some discussions about where the town stands relative to our fund balance and our reserves. There was some discussion at the last budget meeting as well about setting aside funds and things of that nature. So we wanted to revisit that here, just remind council where things stand with fund balance. As you can see, at the end of the last fiscal year FY24 that ended June 30th of last year, we had approximately 43.7% of our planned expenditures available in fund balance. So that's an excellent number for us to have. The town's policy sets a minimum of 25% available fund balance. And the target rate is 30%. So you can see that at the end of the last fiscal year, we were exceeding both of those numbers. As we approach the end of the current fiscal year, fund balance is definitely a moving target when you're trying to project things. So we made a rough projection of kind of where we thought things would end up at the end of the current year, knowing that there are quite a few revenues to still be received as well as expenditures to code to this fiscal year. And as you can see with our estimates, we still expect to be well above the target rate of 30% and expect to end the year with a surplus that will be added to fund balance.
So with that, we are here if there are any further questions or discussion on the budget. I do believe there is information in front of you for the motion to adopt the budget. But again, if you have any questions, please let us know.
Well, now is the time, isn't it? As I say, a lot of work's gone into it, and let's poll the council members while we have our key budget folks up here at the podium. Let's start with Mr. Vance, see if we have questions or comments related to the budget.
Well, I would just say that for this budget, no tax increase. It's the first one that I've been on where there hasn't been a tax increase since I've been on the council, and also for the projected anticipated end of year surplus is also a plus, which shows that we are fiscally responsible, and we're also taking and mindful of our spending as well. I know that was a concern. That is a concern about citizens, and rightfully so. It's a concern of mine as well. And to show that we are being responsible with our funding, with all that's going on with the merger and everything else that's happening, the fire merger and all the other activities we have going on, I would just say that the hard work is appreciated. And I'll leave it at that for right now.
Okay, Mr. Dellinger.
No comments.
Ms. Behringer.
I would like to say I appreciate the budget team for all the hard work, and also to note, for at least as long as I've been on the council, our fund balance when the budget was submitted has always been above that which was recommended by the League of Municipalities, and so that is a consistent feature that we have met every time.
Okay, Mr. Singleton, questions, comments?
And to touch on what Ms. Berger said, when we got with Davenport and Reed, we adopted different financial goals and considerations, and that was one of them. Fund balance went from 25 to 30, and then we dropped it back to 25, but 30 years to go, as I recall. A couple of years ago, because of the code, I think we dropped it from 30 to 25, and 25 is the minimum, I think, in our policy, but 30%, I believe, is still the goal. A minimum of 30% is the goal.
That's correct. 30% is the target, even though the policy allows it to go down to 25%. And it does, policy does say that council can go below 25% as well, but there needs to be a plan to bring it back up to above 25%. But I think that's been the set target rate of 30% for probably 5 or 6 years at least now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the staff, the budget team, our town manager, and everybody involved. It's a process, and I know after you take a few hours off this week, you'll be right back at it again for the next year. But being as recognized recently as the 10th fastest growing town in the United States of America, that just piles everything when you try to figure these things out, what we're going to need, what we're not going to need. And like everybody else, I'm pleased we've got a strong fund balance that shows we are very good stewards of the people's money and prepared to deal with things. And with growth comes, again, with increase in emergency service, police, fire, rescue, and that's the one thing that people want when something's happening in their house. They want to see that blue light or red light out there just as quickly as possible. And I'm proud to say our team does a good job of that. And we got the merger coming in, which is going to take it up to another step. But having said all that, I think we've got a good budget here with the tax increase and planning for the future the best way we can, because it is the future. And next year we'll bring another set of challenges, I'm sure. But thank you again for what y'all have done on this. And I know it's been tough, but I'm ready to move forward with it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I just one quick clarification point. We talked a little bit about the general fund balance, which is our savings account. That was questions that came up last time. You've addressed it very well. I heard a little discussion about it earlier today, that one of the things that makes it such a moving target, particularly for the fiscal year that's just ending now, is that some of the revenues that might go into the fund, the general fund balance, are yet to be received or yet to be calculated. So it may be months into the next fiscal year before we found out were we at 25, 30, or 35% reserve. Did you want to elaborate on that a little bit, either one of you, or how we really measure that moving target?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That is one of the challenges to estimate fund balance with any degree of certainty. Probably the best example of that with the revenues is sales tax. So we still have 3 months of sales tax revenue to post against the current fiscal year, and we're in June. So we will receive 2 of those payments, and then the third one we typically have to estimate as part of the process to kind of close the books for the audit. So that does create some challenges, and sales tax is very volatile anyway, so that compounds that. But we do have some other revenues, mostly from the state, that are dispersed quarterly, and those come in for the final quarter the quarter that ends June 30th. Those will come in, over the next couple of months as well. So it does create challenges, but we feel like with the trends that we're seeing with sales tax and some of the other revenues, that we're confident we'll end with a surplus. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly what that'll be.
Gotcha. And I think one of the factoids I picked up in this discussion too was that sales tax is based largely on population and population growth, and not just on how much we sell in Garner. So that's where that 10% plus growth rate finally will give us some real financial benefit, perhaps, as Wake County collects the sales tax countywide and looks at us and our growth too. So that's the positive. And Ms. Behringer, you had another comment?
Yes, I need to correct a statement I made. It is the local government commission that sets the standard, not the League of Municipalities.
Okay. Yeah, there are standards that we go by, and we seem to be measuring up to other chance for observations or questions at this point? Okay, okay. Well, thank you very much so far. That's great. I think at this point too, also, I've been informed by our attorney that we need to verify compliance with the Transparency Act. And you can explain that to us and tell us how we can do this in a simple and transparent way as compared to some convoluted things we've done in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all may recall, a few years ago, the General Assembly adopted the Transparency Act, which prohibits elected officials from knowingly participating in the making or administrating a contract with a nonprofit with which that public official is associated. Through efforts to standardize our program partners, we would like to disclose that there are 3 members of council who are on the board of directors of various nonprofits that are expected to receive appropriations in the adopted budget. Those are Mr. Dellinger with the Garner Elite Board, Council Member Behringer with the Downtown Garner Association Board, and Councilman Vance with the Garner Economic Development Corporation and the Community of Hope Board of Directors. Although we're disclosing this information, the processes put in place with the town manager, who will be both the making and administering of contracts. This will insulate council from decisions made on the funding of these appropriations. There will be contractual agreements with each of the nonprofits receiving any type of funding from the town in the upcoming fiscal year. So for that reason, I'm not recommending that there be any recusals based on this particular statute, and that's in keeping with guidance of the School of the Government, the University of North Carolina School of Government, as well as what our peer communities are doing with these kinds of situations.
Good. So we'll be in compliance with all laws, we'll be transparent, and there's been no backroom dealing on this. Okay, so far. So that being said, we move along to the adoption of the budget, and I'd like to clarify a procedural point here. I want my attorney to double check me as I explain this. There's 3 major parts to the budget for the coming year: the operating budget ordinance, the capital projects ordinance, and the fee schedule. There's 3 different parts. They can be voted on together if every council member wants to vote on them together. If any council member feels that it would be more appropriate to break them out separately and vote on each one in order, all it takes is saying that word, and then we'll do it individually. Let me hear from council if anyone feels we should go individually.
I would like to vote on them separately for transparency.
Okay, then, and that's all it takes is one person who says, let's do it, and we will do this one at a time. And I don't think there's other particular discussion or questions unless anybody wants to make any comments, as opposed to making comments on each one as we go through. Hearing none, I'm going to ask that we have a roll call vote on the operating budget ordinance for fiscal year 26. This is for the first one.
Point of order, we need a motion.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I move we approve FY26 operating budget ordinance 2025-5340, and that we add an additional FTE as an affordable housing / community neighborhood manager to help work on affordable housing projects throughout town, and also work on rehabilitating older housing stock in Garner.
Okay, there's a motion.
In the amount of $100,000, excuse me.
Okay, there's a motion that seems to include an adjustment of the budget that's been submitted.
Correct.
Okay, that's on the operating budget ordinance. There's been a motion to change some of the figures compared to what we had looked at in previous time. Is there a second to Mr. Singleton's motion?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on the operating budget ordinance that's been amended? Discussion, comments?
Maker of the motion has the floor.
Excuse
Point
me?
where the maker of the motion has the floor.
Say again?
The maker of the motion has the first opportunity to speak.
To vote.
To speak.
Okay, speak, Will. Speak more, please, Mr. Singleton.
I just mentioned this emphasis throughout the budget process, and I believe it's important that we prepare. There's data already available, but I think it's important that we prepare for this project. Affordable housing is not going away. I had a town Garner employee contact me and thank me for mentioning this a few weeks back at one of our meetings. One who works for the town of Garner, and says they cannot afford right now to purchase property in the town of Garner. They're renting, and they are thankful for us to consider it. And so when someone reaches out to you like that and works for the town and has for years, that even gets your ears up even more. So I'll just be quiet at that. I said I supported this position the whole time, and I will remain. And if the if the motion doesn't pass, then we'll make another motion, and that's fine. But I put it in there for the opportunity to see if it would pass. If it doesn't pass, that's fine. We'll move along to the next motion without it, I'm assuming.
Okay. So I'm going to ask our town attorney or our town manager to kind of rephrase and explain to the council members and
As presented, in addition to, as it's presented, to add one FTE and $100,000 to cover that FTE in order to focus on housing and neighborhood preservation activities.
Yes.
Okay. Is that your understanding, Mr. Dellinger? Was that in line with your understanding of the motion with the amendment to make an additional expenditure?
I just seconded the motion. It wasn't my motion.
I just want to double check that her rendition,
Yes.
her summary was accurate.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Yes. Yes, in reference to the importance of affordable housing, that has been made evident by the task force and all the research that has been done. And as been mentioned in previous meetings, there has been a process that we followed to help substantiate the items that Mr. Singleton has brought before us and made clearer the problem of affordable housing and how it relates to Garner, and we narrowed it down and we started focusing on what I'm thinking he's speaking of now, workforce housing, and that has been the intent of this particular task force, to focus on workforce housing with the understanding that there are other nuanced parts of affordable housing, such as we have the various Section 8 in helping folks to stay in their current existing homes and things of that nature. And a part of that process, I believe, has been very successful. A lot of tremendous input, a lot of support moving forward. And with that, with the discussion of providing what is the current inventory of affordable housing within Garner, to clarify and help us to find what the needs are, and allowing the data as it comes forth to substantiate or to provide us the evidence to say, yes, the position is in place. Do I believe that we need to have some continuing support for focusing on affordable housing? Most definitely. And I also believe that if we allow the process to continue on, that we will be able to substantiate what is being stated now, just to allow the process to go on. Plus, we also have the ability, if this motion for the addition or the amendment to the budget is not made, that we would be able to add on that person in possibly the not so distant future. It's not something that we have forgotten about. And even for the individual come to Mr. Singleton and state that he appreciated, that is in itself helps to say that yes, we are on the right track, I believe, in going about looking at how we can better provide support for affordable housing. Now, will that person be able to do something immediately coming in? Probably it would take a ramp-up period for that individual to get on board and to provide the necessary expertise and resources to steady out and to help us move forward with our affordable housing program. I'm pretty confident that in the future we will be able to substantiate the need for a position. However, I believe the process is important. We follow the process thus far, and we continue to follow the process. And as Mr. Dillinger quite often say, we focus on our comp plan and focusing on the process within the comp plan. I believe that if we continue to focus on the process that we established with the strong team that we've had to provide the evidence, that the evidence will provide the necessary information for the final analysis to maybe come to the conclusion that, hey, this is needed. However, it becomes a thing of what comes first, chicken or the egg, and that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. I believe that's my perspective of it, and I will not support this motion as it is because I believe that we're close enough to getting to a point where we have the evidence in place, and the resources are in place now for if people have questions about affordable housing, the staff should be able to answer them reasonably. And then once we have continued on with collection of the data and analyzing that data and bringing it forth, I believe that it'll be beneficial for those who are skeptical of what we're doing to provide that evidence and to make it clear, and then to help to put us in a better standing and a better position when it comes to affordable housing relative to workforce housing in the future. So that's why I stand with that.
Thank you. Mr. Dillinger, another comment?
Yeah, I'm in support of the motion. I don't see it as a chicken or egg problem. I see it, is there a housing crisis or is there not a housing crisis? And when we mentioned the comp plan, even our previous comp plan had mentioned affordable housing, and we didn't do anything with it. Our new comp plan does. You talk about process and urgency. Process doesn't put people into homes. Process is council at our retreat in 2001 unanimously saying, we are concerned about affordable housing. Let's do something. We didn't do anything. Spring 2022, unanimity in our retreat. Let's do something about affordable housing. We don't do anything. Finally, in the fall of 2023, we have the School of Government at UNC come and do 2 workshops presenting data on top of data on top of data to show us how many homes are cost burdened in Garner, the fact a police officer and a firefighter and a teacher can't afford to buy a home here. Okay, that's fall of 2023. One of the recommendations out of that was to form a task force. So we form a task force in the fall of 2024. We spend 3 to 4 months diligently documenting the housing crisis here in Garner, the housing crisis across the state of North Carolina, documenting every single, out of 24 municipalities and local governments and counties, every single housing program they implement, from homelessness to LIHTC development, what works, what doesn't. Clear consensus recommendation is to hire a full-time person. So now we're sitting here. I just want a sense of urgency around what we say we care about. We don't even want to put money in the budget, but we want to show some kind of urgency. So we wait until the data comes in. It comes in August, September. We have a couple meetings around it, put out a full-time job description. We get applicants. Then we have the ramp-up time. Now we have gone 5 years from when this council has said it cares about affordable housing to being in a position to implement a single town policy. We've done a LIHTC development. That's great. That was the best use of our art money. Highest leverage funds we've used out of our art money came from that LIHTC development. We double, some revitalization. That's good. That helps. It helps some people. Process does not help people. When people are drowning, the process, you stick your hand out and you help them immediately. You don't ask them if they know how to swim. You don't ask them if they have a cramp. You don't ask them, are you going to be okay? They're in trouble. People are struggling. And we have a responsibility sitting up here to think beyond our own comfort, well beyond our own comfort, and make our residents, our citizens, their crisis, their plight, their needs, their hard-working dollars that aren't covering the month, and do something other than wait. That's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Behringer, comment?
Yes, sir. During my first term on the council, I asked the then town manager what our percentage of affordable housing was, and her guesstimation was 40%. That surprised me in one way, and another it didn't, because we have a lot of older homes, smaller homes in Garner. Over the years, I asked many times for exact figures, and nobody could ever tell me. Right now, we're in the process of a study being done that will tell us what that figure is. And I think it's important that we know exactly what we're dealing with and not something that's out of, I don't know, I don't want to call it exaggeration, but out of reason. When Mr. Singleton was talking about this in the June 3rd meeting, he said not only affordable housing for people who workforce housing, but also housing for seniors, because more and more of our population is aging into that senior category and they need housing. Any doctor will tell you that a senior citizen fares better living at home than they do in a facility. So that gives us understanding that we're going to have more and more housing in that attainable range. I am in favor of waiting until we get these results. Yes, it's a little bit longer, and I can understand the frustration. I've been frustrated for almost 2 decades with nobody giving me an answer. I would like to see the figures so that we know which direction we need to go in. We can add that FTE for full-time employee to deal with housing after the fact. We could do it now, but we could also add it after the fact, after we have accurate figures, and I think that's the more prudent thing to do.
Thank you, Ms. Behringer. And Mr. Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with my two colleagues, Mr. Vance and Mr. Behringer. We do have this process going on right now to determine what the numbers are. I don't call it a crisis till they come back and tell us it's a crisis. We don't know what it is. They could come back and say, you guys are more than enough based upon our criteria, whatever that criteria is. And that could be a good bit of information to know. I want to, we can always, as Ms. Barron said, act upon it later if it is a crisis. And if it comes back and it's not a crisis and we're just as good as anybody else and our numbers, what they provide for us, bear that out, then there's another issue. So I'm not going to create a crisis till they tell me there is a crisis. So I can't support this motion, but I know later on we can. And I know in our budget, we went up to $100,000 to help residents remain in their homes in older housing stock. So we doubled down on that, looking after those seniors, which I think is a wonderful thing. And I think this board would step up even more if it needed to later on. But I can't support this motion right now till we have the data. We know what we're dealing with. And that's just a good business decision. I'm not going to, it can be an emotional thing, but I'm not going to let the emotions get drawn in. I'm trying to make a good business decision here on behalf of the people of Garner. So I cannot support this motion.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's a lot of great feedback, a lot of thoughtful discussion. I don't have a vote, I don't have a vote, but I do have an opinion, and I would like to state it. I've heard people say, do something. The frustrations of 2021, the frustrations of 2022, not do anything in 2023. But in the year and a half I've been here, we started an affordable housing task force led by a very capable mayor pro tem and our town manager with great committed members, and worked really hard on this to make a plan. And now we are working that plan. We're going through a process. We don't want to put the cart before the horse or the chicken before the egg or whatever the saying is. But we do want to move ahead in an orderly, thoughtful way to complete the process that task force started, which includes doing an inventory of what we have now, as Ms. Behringer pointed out. Do we need more for the seniors, more for the workforce, more for the unhomed, for the unhoused? What do we need to focus on? Much less who is the person to do that job and what are the characteristics we're looking for. It's just, it's the best practices in private enterprise and in government both to define the job and the goals before you start spending money on that job. I think it's premature to put the money aside and then build something around something that might be in the report, might be in the inventory, might be not. Let's stick to the process. Let's stick to what the Affordable Housing Task Force came up with, going orderly through these steps, and something has been done. Steps have been taken. We are moving. We won't be back here a year from now saying, well, we sure did nothing again for the 5th time in a row. That is not the case. So I'm very much in favor of doing what the council has voted for 2 or 3 times in the past, to do an orderly process. That's my 2 cents, and now I'll shut up. And Mr. Singleton, did you have another comment or question?
Oh, if you ever get the chance, Mayor, walk up to some of our town employees and ask them if they can afford to buy a house in Garner, or if they can afford to rent a house in Garner. I'll leave it at that. And Mr. Massey's mentioned a crisis. Just do that. Go to your new firefighters, go to your new police officers, go to your public works employees, your parks and rec employees, people that work in this building, and just ask them, can you afford to buy a house in the town of Garner? That's all you got to do, if they'll share it with you. And keep it confident. I will never tell who contacted me, but then you'll know. You'll have the answer to your question about waiting. The data, I think the data has already been presented. Ms. Cardenas has sent us a lot of information. I mean, she's like a hummingbird out there, the way she's flying around fast, sending us information from the county and other folks. So the county already has a lot of free information. So anyway, it's not going to pass. That's fine. We can go ahead and vote on it, and then we can make another motion and get the budget or the budget ordinance passed, and we'll do the capital project and the fee schedule. So we can call for the question. That's fine with me.
Well, no, Mr. Mayor, actually, I want to make a motion to an amendment to Mr. Singleton's motion.
Wait a minute, you're suggesting an amendment to his?
To the motion, yes, sir. I move that the town allocate $400,000 to a fire and rescue public safety fund and $200,000 to storm utility fund. That is my motion.
That's a suggested amendment to Mr. Singleton's.
Yes, sir.
Motion. Okay, I'm gonna call my town attorney here to talk about amending motions and where we are and what motion is before the council at this moment.
Right, if there's a second, then you would deal with the amendment first.
Second.
Okay, so we would deal with that amendment.
Right, you would address that, so you can have debate or discussion on that and then a vote.
So the motion is to make it, at this point in the budget process, to make some adjustments and make new allocations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and those allocations specifically are what now, dollar-wise?
A fire and rescue public safety fund in the amount of $400,000 and a stormwater utility fund of $200,000.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to make some last-minute adjustments and additional expenditures that were outside of our regular budget process. Okay, we're going to have another round of comments and discussion on this amendment. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you made the motion, and Mr. Singleton seconded the motion. So let's hear some input from the other council members.
But I have the floor first, making the motion.
You made the motion, and you'd like to follow up and elaborate on that.
That's the rules.
That sounds good to me. Go for it.
I'm glad you mentioned saving and putting money aside in the discussion with regards to affordable housing. We were presented on May 6th with a functional budget that met all the needs of the town with regards to growth and the merger, all without a tax increase. And then by virtue of the process, there was another $1.3 million. And the immediate inclination was to spend it on more positions, bringing the total of new positions in this budget to 30, and another simple expansion of street paving and traffic calming. What I'm proposing for this really not even 0.6 of a cent is to save and invest these funds so that they can grow, they can fund essential services and infrastructure, and can offset any future tax increases. The monies can be found through reducing the amount in the existing budget of street resurfacing by $400,000, which would be offset by the nearly $555,000 that was put forth before us at our last meeting, reducing traffic calming by $100,000, which would also be offset by the allocation in the $1.38 million. I think it's incumbent upon us. I know their fund balance will grow, but the percentage will probably shrink or stay stagnant. when we're presented with the opportunity of found funds and a looming potential tax increase, there was mention of a surplus at the end of the year. All that surplus will do is further offset the 30 new employees that we're putting in this year's budget that all will be online in next year's budget. Any increase in size of the fund balance is not going to be enough over time to accommodate the capital improvements we need in the town. By allocating $400,000 to fire and rescue as a set aside, a permit set aside for facilities, equipment. There was an article the day after our last meeting where Wake County was talking about how they were struggling to fund their fire department, literally the day after our meeting. We don't want to be in that same position in 2 or 3 years when we're trying to build 2 fire stations or buy a new fire engine. That's now our full responsibility, and the county will put in some. This is the opportunity to save. This is the opportunity to reduce the tax burden on the citizens for not just next year, because this pays dividends over the next several years because you're putting it away, you're saving it. We're putting that 8.5 cents in there for debt service. Our budget increased $9.9 million, but we didn't increase the amount we're putting away into savings, revenue savings, to offset our future debt. Why are we not increasing our future debt capacity in line with the growth of our budget and our operations side? The pendulum has swung from underfunding operations with regards to capital projects to, I think, overfunding. We save this money, we can earn money on interest that we otherwise will not, because we'll be investing them in positions which are just going to grow by 5% in expenses versus maybe giving a return of 5%. Brought this information to several council members before. I think it is very fiscally sound to put the money away when you have found money. It is the hallmark of fiscal conservatism to save money. And I think that's the opportunity we've been presented with, and one I think that we should take advantage of. That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. So procedure-wise, Town Attorney, I'm going to ask, what's the correct procedure? We've had a motion and a second. Now we have a suggested amendment and a second to that. And the person who suggested that amendment has spoken on that. Do we have a rule of order that the one who seconded that gets second opportunity to speak?
So according to Rule 9 or Motion 9 in your rules, the motion to end debate or call the previous question is not in order until every member has an opportunity to speak once on the pending motion. So in this case, everyone will get an opportunity to speak on the amendment, Mr. Dellinger's amendment to the original.
Okay. And we can start at either end of the council and come back. Right. Okay. Let's start with Mr. Matthews this time. Mr. Dellinger made the suggested amendment and gave us some good rationale, some good thoughts there. We'll move to Mr. Matthews to address the suggested amendment to Mr. Singleton's.
Mr. Mayor, I cannot support the original motion, nor neither the amendment combined with it. I can't support it.
Okay. Mr. Singleton, would you like to add comments to?
There's a point of order that the amendment isn't combined with the original. It doesn't have to necessarily support the original motion to support the amendment.
Okay, I will not support the amendment.
Okay. Mr. Singleton.
I would just say the last meeting we talked about sticking money aside as the budget projection for next year does project a tax increase, but that may not happen. We don't know about revenues. That changes, especially adjusting as both Mr. Warren and Mr. Beck mentioned with late revenues coming from the state. And we don't know how sales tax, if it'll be flat, who knows what's going to go on with the economy. So I think we mentioned last time saving $500,000, which is half a cent on the tax rate. It's right in front of us. And I just think that's smart because we just don't know. I mean, I don't know who's going to be sitting on this council this time next year, but it's come in there and there's a 5-cent tax increase. Somebody ought to come up here and raise cane and say, yeah, I could have saved that when maybe we wouldn't have a 5-cent tax increase. Maybe it'll say a 4-cent tax increase or whatever. So it's just from a fiscally responsible standpoint, just setting some of the surplus that was signed by some of us on the council, that just seems like a reasonable objective to try to help and prepare for the FY26 budget, but then thinking ahead for the 2027 budget. So I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Behringer, comments on the suggested amendment?
I cannot support that amendment.
Okay. Mr. Vance, do you want to comment on the suggested amendment?
Yes, and the $400,000 suggested going to fire and safety, and the $200,000 going where?
Stormwater.
Stormwater. Where would the money come from?
400,000 would come from the budget from the street resurfacing, which is again offset by the 1.38 million extra we voted on last meeting, 100,000 from the traffic calming, 100,000 or 97,000 from a budget analyst position, and then 50,000 for that could be potentially realized by doing a tiered realignment of the cost of living adjustment to normalize that cost of living adjustment, making sure that our lower paid employees get a larger dollar amount and larger percentage amount in comparison to our higher paid employees. So,
and that's the 1.3 that was discovered during the last meeting, I would think it was it not? And then the suggestion was made by the staff for certain positions to be filled, certain things to be done with that.
it was in between two meetings, yes.
In between two meetings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. We're still waiting.
Hang on, I'm waiting for, see if Mr. Vance is finished with your comments or questions about the suggested amendment to the motion.
Yes, sir, and I'm looking at 1.3 minus 6. So that leaves what, $700,000?
Okay, did you have any further comments or questions related to the suggested amendment?
No, I don't. Let me see. I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking that because when the motion was approved last time, correct me if I'm wrong, it was based upon the recommendation the staff gave us for consideration and for a possible adjustment if we wanted to do that. And I'm just thinking about being fiscally conservative as well, going toward fire and safety and also stormwater. I see it as reasonable. I see it as a reasonable adjustment for us here with having $700,000 going towards other areas, unless I'm doing something, unless the staff can tell me if it's a shortcoming there or if it's something that that can be flexed here. Can the staff tell me if I'm off base with my what I'm thinking of?
If the $1.3 million that we were able to reallocate in the budget, if council is looking to use that differently than what was approved at your last meeting, the last meeting was approved what staff had recommended based on council's previous discussions for the unfunded requests, as well as some additional funding for street resurfacing and some additional dollars for traffic calming. Certainly, we could look at what that would, we could look at that and we could make that available in terms of funding those needs. I'll be honest, I need to see it in writing first to make sure I'm understanding all the numbers and where the proposal's coming from the sources, just to make sure that that's accurate. But from a philosophical standpoint, there are those dollars, and if the majority of council decides you'd like to spend them differently, we could do that within those dollars.
And if I may, in reviewing your meeting rules of procedure, in motion 12 to amend amendments to ordinances, which this is an action to adopt an ordinance, that amendment has to be reduced to writing before there can be a vote on the amendment.
That amendment has to be reduced to writing before we vote on it.
Right, because this has to do with voting on an ordinance.
So we can't vote on that, on Mr. Dellinger's requested amendment until it's reduced to writing.
Correct.
Okay. So do you suggest a short recess while you help phrase that in written language, and then we come back and vote on that?
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
Will 5 minutes be sufficient to reduce that to writing? Do you need 10?
Give us 15.
Okay.
May I proceed to ask a question?
Hang on. Let's go real slow here.
Now, the only other option, although you still need direction to staff because an ordinance would have to be adopted before the end of the fiscal year, would be to suspend your rules about putting it in writing, but that would require a 2/3 majority vote.
It's even more complicated. I'm thinking, take a 15-minute recess, see if you can reduce that suggested amendment to the motion to writing, so we can vote on that.
Right.
And then do we need the other amendment that Mr. Singleton suggested, does that need to be reduced to writing also?
Yes, because that would be an amendment to the budget that's in the, to the budget ordinance that's in your packet.
Okay, yeah, because I think what we want to do is have something that we can vote on. And if it's two different, if there's a motion and an amendment, if you can get that in writing in 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll have a vote. And I see Mr. Matthews has his hand raised now.
I might throw a wrench in the whole cog here. Since everybody has had debate here, are you satisfied we've all talked about this to this point?
I think a recess would be a prudent thing to do.
The reason I'm saying this,
Repeat that again, Mr. Matthews.
everybody's had a chance to talk about this.
Everybody's had a chance to talk
Okay,
about it.
and I would agree. With that being said, I'm going to call for the motion. I'm going to call for the question on the motion on this whole project here, because we're undoing so much here. I'm not even sure where it's all coming from and where it's going now, because we've had this budget laid out before us, and we've had debate on the far as the workforce housing person. Now we're adding more amendments to that, and it's getting very confusing. I can't make heads or tails out. If these guys can, that's why I'm calling for the motion. I'm calling for the question. Hear me out. I've got the floor. I'm calling for the question on the motion that was made about the amendment attached, the whole deal. I'm calling for a question. Let's vote on it.
Okay.
And see if it's
And
even-
at
see if
that
it's
point,
even-
I'm going to ask our parliamentarian, our town attorney, to tell us what parliamentary process is the most correct thing to do here.
So technically, under your rules, because these are amendments to a proposed ordinance, they have to be reduced into writing before you can vote on them. So you basically can't call a question to have a vote at this time.
Okay.
Either the amendments get reduced to writing or they get withdrawn.
Okay. I'm going to go with what we suggested a moment ago, that we follow the strict rules of procedure. We take a 15-minute recess and ask our town attorney, town manager, and the person who made the suggested amendment to that motion to get together and see if that can be condensed to writing so that we can take a vote on that at approximately 3:48. Motion, recess, 15 minutes. Do your homework. size pieces, and what kind of actions might be called for. Ms. Jones.
Well, as you can see on the screen, the two motions have been reduced to writing. Again, we would start with Mr. Dellinger's amendment to the motion.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my amendment.
Okay, you withdraw your amendment to Mr. Singleton's motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that will allow us to move ahead with a vote on Mr. Singleton's motion.
Yes.
And did Mr. Singleton need to agree to removing Mr. Dellinger's amendment, or I just want to make sure we're totally going by the book?
No, my understanding is it does not require a second to withdraw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dellinger, for clarifying this step a little bit. So, Mr. Singleton, I'm going to ask Ms. Jones to confirm for me that this is an accurate recital of your motion to approve the fiscal year 26 operating budget as presented. Just lost my feed.
And one extra number, we had an $874 million
Yeah.
budget. That's a tad on the high side.
Okay.
That was my typo. That was my typo in the midst of getting things down quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I believe we have it now.
Yeah.
Let me read Mr. Singleton's motion and let him confirm this is what he did indeed mean to make a motion about. It says, approve the fiscal year 26 operating budget as presented and add $100,000 for one full-time employee position for affordable housing and neighborhood preservation. This position will be funded using fund balance, bringing the total fiscal year 26 budget to $87,423,587. Is that an accurate?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, and Mr. Dellinger, does that represent the motion you intended to second?
Yes.
Okay, you seconded his original motion, or did you?
I did, but that's germane to the motion. Anyone can second the motion, supportive or not.
But you seconded his motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Singleton's motion as written here has been moved and seconded, and that's what's before our council to vote on now. Okay, and I guess theoretically I'm supposed to ask again, is there any more discussion, any more questions on this, or do we move to a vote? I'm asking my attorney.
Right, if there's no members who wish to discuss this, I believe everyone had an opportunity on the first go-round.
Okay, I believe you're correct. We had a lot of discussion on this. I agree that it's prudent to move directly to a roll call vote on this, and I think our general tradition has been that the person making the motion gets the opportunity to make the first vote. So I'll call first on Mr. Singleton.
Aye.
Okay, and those in favor, I'll go on down in this order here. Aye in favor or nay opposed. I'll ask Ms. Behringer. Nay. Okay, Mr. Dellinger.
Aye.
Mr. Vance.
Nay.
Mr. Matthews.
Nay.
It sounds like 3 nays and 2 ayes, so that motion does not pass. Okay, now, Ms. Jones, if you will step me through any next steps that may have been discussed in unraveling this Gordian knot of a process.
So another motion can be made with respect to the operating budget.
Say we need a motion to be made.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt
I think Mr. Matthews had his hand up first. Mr. Matthews was trying to speak.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the presented FY26 operating budget ordinance 2025-5340. That's one of them.
Okay, we're taking these one of each third at a time, and your motion is to adopt the fiscal year 26 operating budget ordinance. Is there a second? Okay, Ms. Behringer seconds it. There's a motion and a second, and so I guess we can have discussion on this. We've had a lot of discussion, but we'll leave the floor open for more discussion. And let's start with Mr. Vance is in and come this way. Any questions, comments? He made the motion.
He has the floor.
Go first, Mr. Matthews.
Again, I think we've got a good budget here that has been worked on long and tirelessly. We've had ample time to input on this thing. And at our last meeting, we give staff direction. We agreed to those items with that those extra funds that we found. And Mr. Mayor, I'm just ready to move on with this budget, and let's get it done. We can sit here and add on to it and tag this and tag that, and some things might work, some things might not, but I think we owe this to our citizens to pass this budget, and that's why I make that motion to take that item number one.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. And Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you again, is there a particular order I need to call on the council members to speak on this amendment, on this motion?
You should attempt to alternate between positions, but because you might not know what those positions are, you can call it in any order now.
Okay, I think I'll call it from left to right, my left to my right, as we often do. Mr. Singleton, your comments.
I'm ready to move on ahead with the vote, and we'll see if it passes, and if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, we'll see if there are amendments made to another motion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Behringer?
I am looking forward to seeing the results of the study. I will say that I am familiar with the need for affordable housing. My father's extended family, many members had to live in affordable housing as they were coming along. So I understand that, but I believe we need to proceed decently and in order. And in my view, waiting for the results of that study is doing things in order. If the study indicates that we need to hire someone for that position, we can do that. And we can put them to work rapidly. So that's my position.
Thank you. Mr. Tellinger, comments?
Yes, I think a lot of effort has gone into the budget. I think we can polish it off here. I think in the shadow of the merger with the fire department, which is going to be it's been a tremendous effort, been a tremendous feat. It's going to be good for the town. I think it is very prudent for us to do some set-asides for fire, rescue, future capital improvements. I just think it is the fiscally sound thing to do as we move into uncertain times. As with everything else, people say, show me what you care for, show me your budget. I don't think that this budget sufficiently meets the future needs based on analysis of our future expenditures on capital projects. Also think we need to be investing in the stormwater utility. Both of these things would significantly reduce taxes over the next 5 years. I think it is the fiscally prudent thing to do. I will not be voting for the budget as it is. I think these items are very, very crucial to the future of the town, not even just symbolically, but from a fiscal standpoint, I think it's very important. So I will be voting no on the budget as is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vance, comments?
I just want to say that say thank you to all the council and the staff for clarifying some questions that I had and made the difficult understanding of the various amendments clearer to me. I can support this budget, and again, I hear the needs and understand the need definitely for affordable housing and how we're working through that process, which we have resources in place that can assist those individuals if they have phone calls. We have a website set for those who need some assistance with existing homes, and also to point to resources that are available. So we are working towards our unique affordable housing problem here in Garner. Again, I can't support this budget.
Okay. So that being said, Ms. Jones, every council member has had their input on this, and I think now it's time for a roll call vote, aye or nay, on Mr. Matthews' motion. Can I get that back on my screen one more time so I can read it, just to be absolutely clear what we're voting on? Is that the motion that I? Okay.
So Mayor, if I could provide some context, what the motion that is before the council for consideration is the original budget ordinance as presented, because the additional motion that Mr. Singleton made, adding the additional 100,000 failed. So now the motion is just to approve the operating budget ordinance as presented.
Okay, thank you. And that very specifically is the operating budget ordinance 2025-53-54 is outlined in writing here. That's the motion that's been made and seconded by Mr. Matthews. Okay, now we'll have a roll call vote on it, and as tradition establishes, we call on the person who made the motion to vote first, and then we'll move from left to right. Mr. Matthews, aye in favor or nay opposed?
Mr. Mayor, I vote aye.
Mr. Singleton?
No.
Ms. Behringer?
Aye.
Mr. Dellinger?
No.
Mr. Vance?
Aye.
Okay, this ordinance passes 3-2. And now we move ahead to the second part of the budget, which is the capital projects ordinance, which is 2025-5341. And that appears before us now on our screens. That's the ordinance that we're considering at this point right here. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Vance, seconded by Mr. Matthews. And now we can have discussion on this ordinance, also known as the capital projects ordinance. And again, Mr. Vance made the motion. Would you like to make some comments on your motion?
I have no comment, sir.
Okay. Mr. Dellinger, comments?
No comment right now.
Ms. Behringer?
No, no comment.
Mr. Singleton?
No comment.
Mr. Matthews?
No comments.
Okay, hearing no more discussion, there's a motion with a second before us to adopt ordinance 2025-5341. Let's have a roll call vote, and I believe it was Mr. Vance who made the motion. If we would start the vote, aye in favor or nay opposed in adopting ordinance 2025-5341.
Aye.
Mr. Dellinger?
No.
Ms. Behringer?
Aye.
Mr. Singleton?
No.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Sounds like 3 ayes and 2 nays. The ordinance passes. Now we move to the third part of the budget ordinance, which is the fee schedule. And is what it's appearing on our screens at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the fiscal year 26 fee schedule.
Okay.
Aye. Oh, second.
Okay. Don't get eggs then. No eggs before the chicken. We want chickens and eggs. We want carts and horses. We're trying to keep them in order here. Okay. Motion made by Mr. Matthews, seconded by Mr. Vance to adopt the fiscal year 2026 fee schedule. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Let's give the people who made the motion and seconded it, or Mr. Matthews, would you like to make some comments on the fee schedule?
None at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Singleton, any comments,
No,
questions?
sir.
Ms. Behringer?
No, sir.
Mr. Dellinger?
No, sir.
Mr. Vance?
No comment.
Okay, hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the fee schedule here. And the motion was made by Mr. Matthews. So we'll be asking an aye in favor or a nay opposed to adopting this ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I vote aye.
Mr. Singleton?
We'll vote aye for the fee schedule.
Okay, Ms. Behringer?
Aye.
Mr. Dellinger?
Aye.
Mr. Vance?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Clearly, that's unanimous. The fee schedule passes as proposed. Okay, now I'm going to call on our parliamentarian one more time over here, Ms. Jones, to get us back on track. We seem to have completed the 3 parts of the budget ordinance being passed.
That is correct. And that would conclude the new and old business portion of the agenda.
Thank you. That was my opinion too, but I always like to have a second opinion on these complex matters. So thank you very much. This time we'll move to committee reports, and we'll call on various council members to report on any committee that they're part of or liaison with. And let's start with Mr. Vance this time.
Yes, sir. The HR committee conducted interviews for the various openings on the boards and commissions, and will be bringing forth recommendations to the council, hopefully within the very near future, couple of weeks.
Okay, Mr. Dellinger.
Yes, the Juneteenth committee will be hosting the Juneteenth celebration this weekend, Saturday at 11 a.m. It's going to be a little bit different this year. We'll still have some good song and some dance, but we also have some oral histories from local folks that will be very interesting. Staff put in a lot of time doing a lot of interviews and was able to condense it down. But I encourage everyone to come out. It is not just for Black people, it is for everybody. So please come out. It's going to be a great event. At the GPAC, yes, as it usually is, GPAC.
If that were a motion, I'd second it. I've been, and it's fantastic.
I don't know if it passes vote though.
Okay. Ms. Behringer.
Just one report, the Public Art Committee meeting has been moved to Wednesday, the 25th, due to a scheduling conflict.
Okay, Mr. Singleton.
No committee reports.
Mr. Matthews.
No reports.
Okay, and that moves us right along to manager reports. I'll call on Town Manager Miller to bring us up to date.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So tonight before you is your monthly Talk of the Town report, and I'll ask Assistant Manager Hodges if he'll provide just a brief highlight of this month's report.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Miller. We've mentioned the fire transition earlier tonight. We do just want to make council aware that to celebrate that milestone, we will be lighting up Town Hall red the first week of July. We do have newly installed pedestrian signal enhancements that have been installed on Timber Drive at the Greenway crossing. It includes an additional median signal as well as a new type of signal. So please take note of those as you're using the Greenway. Our July 3rd Independence Day celebration will be held on Thursday the 3rd. Town staff is working diligently to put on that signature event. We're also bringing back one of our former signature events, the Downtown Concert Series, which has been named Grooving in Garner. Will premiere on Friday the 20th on the lawn at the Recreation Center, and we'll have local music as well as enjoying businesses throughout Garner's social district. And lastly, just a reminder that the White Oak Roundabout project has begun. We have received some feedback on questions about some of the traffic impacts there, and we are working with DOT on some potential solutions for that. Also, you have your statistics for the monthly analytics. As I frequently do note, while you do see, as we're in tall grass and weeds season, you only see a small number of calls that are attributed to that, but our staff is out proactively working on those and many of the other type categories that don't get entered into Garner Info. So in addition to the numbers that you see here, just thank you to all the staff who respond to these type cases on a proactive basis to keep our town looking and operating well. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
And just one final reminder, we are taking nominations for the Stevens Award. The nomination forms are on the town's website, and we'll be taking nominations until June 30th. So I encourage the council and members of the community, if you know someone you think is qualified and should be nominated, to go ahead and submit that nomination. Those are all the updates we have this evening.
Okay. Did you want to talk about the White Oak Roundabout or upcoming events? We got it all covered.
I think we've got it all covered between what Mr. Hodges had shared with some of the things that are coming up, but also the continued work that staff is going to do with the White Oak Roundabout. We just started that work this week, and some of the detouring and traffic, and we'll continue to work on solutions to make it as painless as possible for everyone who goes through that area.
Excellent. A lot of work going on, a lot of things in motion, a lot of great events in the works. Staff's doing a great job, council, everybody, citizens, a lot of help goes into all of this stuff. And over to attorney reports.
No planned attorney's report, but based on what occurred this evening, if in the future you want to amend any ordinances, I'm happy to help you craft something in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. Excellent. And that brings us back to council reports, not just committee reports. Let's start with, was it Mr. Matthews this time?
Nothing whatsoever.
Mr. Singleton.
First, I want to thank staff for working the pedestrian signal. I know it's been some time, but those rapid lights, it says here, can boost yield rates up to 98%. So it's greatly appreciated. And also having the one in the median there, because sometimes the timer goes out and you get stuck in the middle and can't cross. So that's very helpful. So a big thumbs up for that. I will emphasize again, I talked with Ms. Behringer both tonight and this afternoon that we've got calls about the White Oak and Bryan Road intersection. That's when people are counting. I think Ms. Behringer told me 36 cars, and someone I talked to said there were between 30 and 40 cars backed up. So we're in the same count, and this is with school out. So we have to look at some solution there. I travel a lot, and you know, I see these temporary lights that somebody's out with a remote. That's something that's got to be done and looked at. It's an additional cost. That's what we got. We got to create a safe environment there for the people coming out of Bryan Road. Yeah. Third, I brought this up before and it's come up again. People have contacted me. As you're going down Highway 50, you're going between Hudson's Hardware and Fire Station 1. Again, some of the right-of-ways have not been cut or maintained either by the resident or whoever cuts it for the DOT project. I just want to bring that forward again. There's several of them there that you can't miss. And again, I've also touched on the corner of Umstead Lane and Benson Road there also, but they're doing a lot of work there, but there's some tall grass at that corner also. So I'll mention that again because some people have mentioned it to me.
Thank you. Yeah, just because the construction zone doesn't mean it needs to look like a construction zone in everybody's yard.
Exactly.
Thank you. Mr. Behringer.
Yes, to add to Mr. Singleton's report on the Bryan Road situation, I got 3 emails today with pictures 3 times of the backup there. I've talked about this over and over for years and years, and I've been told it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It hasn't come. The sight distance, if you are making a right turn off of Bryan Road onto White Oak Road, you cannot see down the road to see if a car is coming. I've asked that be cut down, and it has not been touched. We've reached a point where we've got to stop waiting. We've got to put pressure on DOT, whatever we have to do, but we've got to get some traffic control there. We cannot keep putting up with this. Somebody's going to get hurt, maybe killed, and we don't want that. So I can't say strongly enough, let's get on it, find out who we have to talk to. I'll go sit at their front door if I have to, but that's got to be fixed. Safety of our citizens are at stake here. Second thing is I think we all got an email last week before, from someone concerned about motorcycle safety in Garner. They'd had a friend get hurt in an accident at Rock Quarry Road and Jones Sausage Road. They asked about us doing bicycle safety in Garner, but Rock Quarry Road and Jones Sausage Road is not Garner. However, as I was coming around the Beltline today, I saw several overhead electronic signs promoting biker safety. Watch your blind spot. Make sure that you know that the bikers are out here. So we are seeing something being done on a DOT level. And then the last thing, I'm tagging on to Mr. Singleton tonight as we go. Jones Sausage Road has a lot of tall grass. A lot of tall grass, both in front of residences and in front of businesses. It's near the roundabout, the diverging diamond. All Martin Branch Road, all along there, it looks horrible, and so we need to get it to a little better.
She's right. That's correct. On Jones Sausage and Martin Branch, it's tall.
Yeah, thanks for being our set of eyes out there for us. It takes a lot of people keeping their eyes open and mentioning these things. Thank you, Mr. Dellinger.
No comments.
Mr. Vance.
Yes, I was informed by a resident that there are multiple vehicles on Smith and New Rand Road, vehicles that do not have tags and appear to potentially be junk vehicles. And on Smith Drive, in the evenings, there is one residence that bringing in their work trucks and they are blocking the road. Cars cannot get through. I just want to bring that to the attention of the staff. And then also it was mentioned that one house on Smith Drive that appeared to be not fit to live in, and residents has concerns about it being not a safe home. I will get more information relative to the addresses and provide them to the staff.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up. I think we're coming to have higher and higher expectations in terms of junk cars, commercial vehicles in the road, overgrown properties. I think it's good to have higher expectations and to express those. We have very capable staff with a very clear set of rules. We also have a staff who is very compassionate to the individual who may be the one having to bear expense or change their life. So we're trying to find that balance of getting it done and being human beings to our neighbors. My hat's off to our staff who deals with that every single day. It's an ongoing battle, but thank to everyone for bringing that up and expecting better out of our neighborhoods. That's great. Okay. I see that we have no closed session this evening.
That's correct.
That's the good news. So I guess if there's no further business that we need to take up, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think that was in harmony, perfect three-part harmony. We'll give credit to Mr. Vance and Ms. Behringer. All in favor of a motion to adjourn, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay?
Nay.
Stick around, stay as long as you like. Yeah.